Now it's time for the Rant Wheel. You know how it works. We spin the wheel wherever it lands. We rant about the topic. This week on the wheel, we have the Disney-announced film Cruella, the Wednesday Addams Netflix series, Ted Cruz's Mask, Trellising, Pardoning Off Seedlings, Whitewashing, Sunflower... Wait a second. This isn't the Rant Wheel.
Play the music! Play the music! It's Emily's garden show. For the garden things you need to know. If you want to talk soil, she's your goyle. It's Emily's garden show. It's the plant wheel. It's not the rant wheel. It's the plant wheel.
Oh, no.
Emily's
taken over the show, and now it's time
Welcome
for
to
the
Emily's
plant
garden
wheel.
show. It's time for the plant wheel. Let's spin the plant wheel. The plant wheel has landed on vermicomposting submitted by Jon Lovett. Let me hear what you got.
Vermicomposting?
Yeah, it's like a worm bin.
It's a worm bin?
Yeah.
I'll tell you something about vermicomposting. Ew.
Yes.
Ew. What about composting was not good enough for you? Is it just composting, but you put worms in it?
Yeah, the worms make the compost for you. They turn it into the poop. It's worm poop, and then you put that in. I just don't understand why you submitted this if you didn't have a rant prepared. Let's do another one. We'll spin the wheel. Okay, it has landed on the Wednesday Addams Netflix series. That was submitted by me.
Okay.
Can I just say, Netflix announced an entire series about Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family, directed by Tim Burton, showrun by two other white men over 50. And I got really mad about it because, I'm sure there are women on the creative team, but they're not the ones who pitched it and sold it. And Netflix should have known better than to say yes to a pitch like that by a bunch of old men about a character like Wednesday Addams, who so many weird girls identify with and would have had a lot of fun with. And it just made me think about Tim Burton in general as the glory-hoarding goth filmmaker that he is. What he could have done in his career is he could have mentored a diverse group of young spooky filmmakers and created a legacy for himself without having to come up with a bunch of new ideas all the time about new spooky dark eyeshadowed women. And instead he's giving interviews about why he doesn't put people of color in his movies. He's doing shit like this, and it just feels like a wasted opportunity, and I want the next generation of spooky people to get their shot. That's all I wanted to say. Let's spin the plant wheel again. And it has landed on Trellising, submitted by Jon Lovett.
What the fuck? How did it keep... Trellising? Trellising?
Yeah, what method do you like to use? I've heard the Florida method is good, but it seems a little complicated for me. One thing that I've moved away from, I'm just going to jump in here because it feels like Jon doesn't really have much of a rant here, is I have learned that there is no substitute for just a modular trellising method of having a bunch of different stakes and a bunch of twine and just redoing it as needed. You don't need to buy a specific tomato cage, is what I'm saying.
Oh, trellising is when you tie, like vines, you tie them up, so that they grow up.
Yeah, it's a plant. It's supports for your plants. Now
Got
that
it.
you know what we're talking about, do you have a rant?
Yeah, they drive me crazy, these trellising.
Classic love it rant.
It's out of control, the trellising.
It's landed on whitewashing in parentheses of avocado trees.
Oh, man.
It's not about the media practice of recasting canonically characters of color as with white actors. It's actually about the fact that if you don't paint your avocado trees white, they might die.
I thought it was either about Tom Sawyer or Scarlett Johansson. So I am not prepared. I was fully prepared on both of those subjects, but I'm not prepared on it.
It's landed on Cruella de Vil. I don't know how that ended up on this wheel because it's not a plant, and I also didn't submit it, but it was submitted by Jon Lovett.
I don't understand, first of all, how the plant wheel, it was fine to have Wednesday Addams, but I submit Cruella to the rant wheel, and on the plant wheel, it's a problem. Here's what I'll say.
Here's the thing is, this is my show, and we do things my way, so...
That's true.
I will...
And I like that.
I've noted your complaint, and I will do nothing more with that information, but go ahead.
Here's what I'll say, all right? I see a lot of people right now judging the trailer for the Emma Stone vehicle, Cruella, the origin story for the woman in 101 Dalmatians, whose only character trait we know of is that she likes to murder dogs for their skins to make a coat. And I've seen a lot of you cast many aspersions about this film based purely on the trailer. And here's what I want to say. Have some faith, all right? Because I'm telling you, I've seen this film, all right? And I'll tell you, it's one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life. Because by the time you get to the end of that movie, and I know this seems impossible, I know this seems hard to believe, but I am telling you, a part of you will not just understand why Cruella de Vil wanted to kill those dogs. Part of you will agree with her. That's the powerful film that Disney has created. I know there's been some criticism, all right, that this is not a character who needed a backstory. Her only trait is the desire to literally skin dogs she stole to make a coat out of 2 adult dogs and 99 puppies. I know that's troubling for you, but this is what I'm talking about with cancel culture, all right? You haven't even sealed the fame. And now that you know that I've seen it, I can tell you that I came away genuinely shocked by the depth of the Cruella de Vil story. Totally relating to the fact that at some point earlier in her life, there were people who were mean to her. And so later in life, she came to be the kind of person who wants to steal dogs from a family to turn them into a deeply uncomfortable and quite ugly coat. I hope that you approach it with an open mind, all right? Because this is one thing that we need right now, all right? We need more people to approach cinema with an open mind.
Yeah, you're hoping that by the end, like how at the end of Finding Nemo, all these people went out and bought those fish and put them in their aquariums, as if they didn't understand the movie at all. You're hoping that at the end of Cruella de Vil, people are just super on board with killing a bunch of dogs.
I think that's what Disney's agenda is with this film.
Yeah.
And somebody said this to me, and I think it's exactly right. It is a testament to the homophobia in our culture, so entrenched in our culture, that we have a Cruella backstory before an Ursula backstory.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see the story of Ursula the Sea Witch. That's what I want, all right? Yes. That's the money I want to spend, Disney.
Yes. I want an Ursula story. Ursula just made deals. You know what I mean? Did she even kill anyone? Much less puppies?
She did turn people into weird little plants, but keep in mind, the king is an authoritarian goon, all right? Here's the thing, all right? Ursula the Sea Witch, they kill her poopsies. Her eels, flotsam and jetsam, zapped to smithereens.
I just think there's probably more room for nuance there than with a character named Cruella de Vil, who is just a rich dog killer, who they really did not want to leave you any room there.
She just wants to kill those dogs. And Emily, I don't know if you've ever thought about this before, if you noticed it, but actually if you look at the name Cruella de Vil, it has like cruel devil, like right in the name.
Oh my God.
And that's the plant wheel. Or the rant wheel. All right, let's get into it. What a week. We'll start with our worst joke, per usual. A University of New Hampshire chemistry professor quit after posing as a female immigrant on Twitter to make racist and sexist tweets. Like any chemistry teacher, he was just looking for a reaction.
Oh, no. As was that joke, and I think you got the one that you wanted.
Yeah, I got what I wanted out of that. I got exactly what I wanted out of that. The average number of new daily coronavirus cases in the U.S. dipped below 100,000 for the first time since early November, you said excitedly to a volleyball you dressed up to become your quarantine friend. Yeah, that's the other thing. There is good news. Like, the case numbers are dropping, and it's like you can really start to feel it. Like, you can see the end is in sight. It's happening. It's happening.
It's sort of happening. Yeah.
Yeah, but but nothing has really changed. It's just that the end is closer.
I'll believe it when I see it. I don't believe anything anymore. Do you think that you are going to bring your like weird quarantine habits back into the world with you when you come out?
I've been thinking a lot about that. I think it's a really good question. I am not worried about the habits I've developed that I know I've developed.
Yeah.
I am not worried about the changes that I know and I see. Like, for example, I'm wearing leopard print pants right now because they're pajamas and they've got pockets. You gotta do some digging when you're looking at a pair of pajamas on the internet, because sometimes there's no pockets and you can't have, and even in home life, phone, AirPods, I gotta have pockets.
You gotta have pockets. What are you gonna carry your phone in your hand while you're walking around?
Like an animal.
Yeah, like a very smart animal that uses an iPhone.
But what I am worried about is like habits I am unaware of completely. Things I'm doing that I don't know because I lack the positive feedback or negative feedback. Not even like major events of feedback, but the little almost subconscious judgments we give each other all the time when we're in the same place that have been gone. Gone. I'll just say it. I am sure that my eating habits are like, I don't know if I'm safe to be brought to a restaurant. Like, I don't know. Like, have I been eating soup with my hands? A little bit, you know?
I think there's going to be a period of time when I go back to a restaurant where I'm only ordering food that won't travel. You know what I mean? Like I'm ordering the sizzling fajitas, bloomin' onion, just
fish tacos, anything that comes, anything soggy, anything that gets soggy. I want that in person, right? I agree.
Yeah. Tableside guac. I'm just gonna demand it, even at like Chinese restaurants.
Anthony Fauci has said vaccines will be available to all Americans by May, and President Biden has said vaccines should be available to reach all Americans by the end of July, adding that it could be sooner if demand drops after Bill Gates' microchip switches from dormant to rage. I don't care. I want the Bill Gates. I want 5G. 5G would be pretty sweet.
Yeah. Put all the chips in me. I want, if I get lost, them to be able to contact my owners.
Yeah. Yeah. Chipped Emilys are far more likely to find their way home.
Yeah. I am so antsy to get this vaccine.
I know.
I want it so bad.
There's a little part of me that's like, there's like, aren't you worried that people aren't going to get the vaccine or they're not going to be I'll be like, yeah, I'll worry about that the day after I get the fucking vaccine. This week, after a once-in-a-century snowstorm battered their power grid, millions of Texans lost power for days in freezing cold temperatures. Many others lost water. Governor Greg Abbott says Texas hopes to have everyone's power restored in time for next week's once-in-a-century heat wave. Republicans blame the crisis on solar and wind energy, and it says here Hillary Clinton. Texans, scared and concerned for their safety, looked to their leaders for help, and when they looked, they saw Ted Cruz wearing an open Tommy Bahama shirt, sipping a pina colada from a coconut at Senior Frogs. As I'm sure you know, Emily, photos surfaced Wednesday night of someone very much Ted Cruz shaped boarding a flight from Texas to Cancun. Many attempted to discredit the photos, believing there was no way a sitting senator could be so dumb as to fly to a beach in Mexico while so many in his state were literally freezing. But internet sleuths suspected it was Ted Cruz because if you look closely at the photos, you can see his brain is thinking about pornos. It was Ted, exhausted from attempting to overthrow a democratically elected president and from never Having a real friend his whole life, Ted Cruz decided to take a little me time by flying to the set of MTV's Spring Break '99. After getting caught, Cruz released a statement pinning the blame on his own daughters, saying he was merely escorting them on the pandemic vacay, and implied, though didn't say, he had always planned to fly back from Cancun in less than 24 hours, despite the fact that he brought with him a packed tote bag and rolling suitcase.
Blaming your daughters is such a move. It's such a move. And one thing that gives me a lot of pleasure about this story is just knowing that those girls are going to never forget that he did that. Because I remember when my dad blamed me for things that I didn't do 15 years ago. I'm not the one who crashed his computer because of downloading something onto it, but I remember that he accused me of that. And I will remember that until the day I die.
Ronan thought that I had absconded with his AirPods Pro. And when I found them in his pockets of a pair of his pants, I held it up like in one of those, like in one of those like murder shows where they hold up the piece of evidence that everybody's been searching for. I held up the pants. I didn't even remove the AirPods from the pocket because I thought it was evidence, and I didn't want to disturb the scene. I wanted him to remove them from the. Yeah, I don't get my prints on it. And Emily, we also this is breaking news. I imagine I'm telling you this. You're learning this for the first time. The New York Times reported moments ago that they had obtained a text chain. This is real. Between Heidi Cruz and some neighbors about the trip. Here's a quote from the Times piece. When Ms. Cruz wrote to the group text chain of neighbors trying to weather the extreme conditions early Wednesday, she said the family had been staying with friends to keep warm, but quickly pivoted to offering an invitation to get away. Quote, anyone can or want to leave for the week, she wrote. We may go to Cancun. She teased a direct flight and hotels with capacity. Seriously. Ms. Cruz promptly shared details for a Wednesday afternoon departure, a Sunday return trip, and a luxurious stay at the oceanfront Ritz-Carlton in the meantime. No one appeared to bite.
Well, first of all, I imagine that those women on the text chain are probably grateful to, for once, have an excuse not to go hang out with Ted Cruz. Like, this is probably the most airtight that excuse has ever been, which is just, that would be incredibly irresponsible, and also, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Assuming any of them used an excuse. But so, does that mean that it was not a pre-planned trip, that they decided to do it because of the power outages?
It seems like it was quite last minute, which is, yes. He sort of implied that. He said, like, my girls and their friends want to take a trip. I don't know if other parents texted. So now what may be possible is that nobody wanted to say on the chain that they were in, but that others texted. But what I also imagine has to be true is, I don't know what Heidi Cruz is like interpersonally. I have a feeling what Ted Cruz is like interpersonally based on every account we've ever read of him.
Yeah.
But what I imagine goes on is there are often conversations in the neighborhood that go something like, I know our daughters are friends and I like Heidi fine, but I am not having dinner with that man ever again. You know? But what I also like is someone on her group thread got this text and we're like, fuck this noise. I'm showing this to the New York Times.
Screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. This is the thing I've been waiting for.
So right now at this moment, I mean, this just posted. This just happened, which means we are having an experience not dissimilar to one that Heidi is experiencing, which is the Cruzes now realize that someone in their group is leaking.
Is a mole, yeah.
There's a mole in the Ted Cruz, Heidi Cruz group chat friend group. I love that.
I love that.
I love that.
I love that so much. Like, I want to see 3, Fyre Fest style documentaries about this entire debacle. I want everyone in the text thread interviewed for it. I want to know everything else that's been said in that text thread. I just want all the information.
Even before we got wind of these text messages, a source from United Airlines confirmed that Ted Cruz had planned to stay longer and that he had only rescheduled his flight that morning. And I'll also just say, of the big 3, I've come to expect that United has the worst service compared to Delta or American. That's just something you kind of understand. Also kind of narcs. look, I don't like Ted Cruz, and I'm happy I know this information, but I don't know that I want United Airlines leaking my travel changes, just because they don't like me.
I'm not giving them points for that, I guess. But also, okay, just backing up a little bit to the whole blaming his daughters thing. He said that, like, it made him a good dad to give his daughters a vacation in the middle of everything that's happening while their neighbors and his constituents are freezing to death all around them. And there is concrete good that he could do by staying in the state and, doing what Beto's doing, like calling seniors, pitching in, helping their neighbors. It's not good parenting to indulge your children's desire to escape the reality of the world when you could instead be providing an example to them of how to be of service, especially when you're, I don't know, a fucking public servant.
I think that's a really, really good point, Emily. I don't think that he was doing it to be a good dad. I think
no,
I don't think
so either.
I think he wanted to read a book about how the Spanish Inquisition was justified while drinking a pina colada and having nachos at the pool fully clothed. That's sort of the Ted Cruz vacation that I imagine. I imagine there's a book about how the New Deal never worked, and one super sweet drink, one plate of now we know it's Ritz-Carlton nachos.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's what he's looking for out of this.
One thing that did cross my mind, though, is that, like, Ted Cruz is famously bad at technology and understanding when people can see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
From his Twitter likes, we know this about him. I wonder if he thought, like, oh, everyone lost power. They're not going to be able to see me leave.
Well, I wonder. Apparently, also, his poodle was still in their home, so I hope they had somebody to look in on that poodle.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sure they did. Meanwhile,
someone on the text chain.
That's right, totally. Someone on the text chain, and I gotta go look after their their terrible poodle.
Yeah.
Their poodle has a bad personality. Meanwhile, defenders of Ted Cruz say he always planned to go on vacation overnight, and the reason his suitcase looked so packed on the flight home is that it was jammed to the gills with duty-free lube. Everyone is getting blowing this all out of proportion. It was lube. It was a lube trip. Drop the kids off and the wife in Cancun, go to the duty-free shop, load up.
It makes no sense. None of it makes any sense. Why would you need to travel with your family for one night? Like, how are you helping? How are you, Ted Cruz, helping on that trip?
It's so obvious that he was going from Wednesday to Sunday. The classic midweek to weekend length of trip.
Yes. Classic
Cancun getaway. Classic. And he got caught. Senate's in recess. He got caught. Just got caught. I even thought he could get away with it, maybe because of the mask and the glasses. He did his hair a little different,
Yeah, but he wore a mask that we've seen him wear before.
Really fucked up. And I like it. I think it's great.
He really boned it.
Anyway, to recap, over the last 5 years, Ted lost the Republican nomination to a man who called his wife ugly and smeared his father as a murderer on national television, pledged during the convention to never support the Republican nominee. When the backlash was swift, he immediately surrendered and phone banked in support of that nominee, even though that nominee never apologized to him or his wife or father. He liked incest porn on Twitter on 9/11. The fact that it was on 9/11 often lost in the retelling. He attempted to overthrow a legitimate presidential election on behalf of the same person who insulted his wife and father and never apologized, which led to 5 deaths during a domestic terror attack. And then, after all that, decided to say he left his state in the middle of a historic crisis to go on vacation because he's such a good dad, which means Ted Cruz has now sacrificed his whole family to his political ambitions. Not one person has been spared. And it's a reminder, Emily, that sometimes politics can be fun.
One thing, too, that really crossed my mind is that, like, he also spent 4 years watching Donald Trump be president and go on 8 million vacations at times when he should not have been vacationing. It's not that Trump didn't get shit for it. it didn't stick to him the way it's sticking to Ted Cruz right now. And that is also, like, rarely do I think, like, oh, it's funny when Donald Trump gets away with something that other people didn't. Like, I don't think that thought ever, but in this moment, I do think it's kind of funny that Ted Cruz is not getting away with something that he watched Donald Trump get away with for 4 years after also calling his wife ugly.
It's because he has a void of charisma. He's so despicable as a figure. There's no room for error with him. None, you know? Yeah,
he's like the epitome of someone who is not pulling off a hat. I've never seen him wear a hat, and he always has the vibe of someone wearing a hat that he's not pulling off.
He can't pull it off.
Yeah.
He can't pull it off.
And he knows. And then he's like, my daughter gave me the hat.
My daughter gave me that.
Yeah.
Also this week, President Biden voiced his support for raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Biden went on to explain that in his day, $7.25 could buy a bottle of Laird's Applejack, a phosphate for your best girl, with enough change left over for popcorn in a movie where Mickey Rooney plays Japanese. But times have changed. New York Assemblyman Ron Kim accused Governor Andrew Cuomo of threatening to destroy him after Kim defended a Cuomo aide who blew the whistle on the governor's alleged bearing of data on coronavirus deaths in the state's nursing homes. Sorry, Cuomo-sexuals, back in the closet with you, you weirdos.
Oh, wow. That was a really tough one to follow. I feel like everyone is just hitting the back 30 seconds button on their podcast apps right now.
So let's see. It's alleged that Cuomo covered up the nursing home deaths. Somebody blew the whistle. Cuomo then threatened to destroy somebody for defending the person who did the leaking of the thing that Cuomo was trying to cover up.
Gotcha. Okay. Someone defended the whistleblower, and Cuomo said, "I will destroy you."
Some version
to that
of that
person. Yeah.
I think, as a general rule, Emily, one lesson I think we should all take away in this age of screenshots: if you're saying to somebody, "I will destroy you," it's not is rarely effective. I think the bottom line is, if you're going to destroy somebody, you don't tell them.
No, unless you're just dirty talking. That's like, it's a thing you
right.
say
Fair
to
enough.
someone's genitals when you are trying to promise them a good time. It's not something you say to a legitimate political adversary. I just want to say, I feel like the last month has borne out several different reasons why it should have been Cynthia Nixon, both to prevent this bullshit that Cuomo's doing and also to prevent a Samantha-less Sex and the City reboot. Both crises could have been averted if Cynthia Nixon had won the primary.
I hear that. I definitely would be worried about a Sex and the City reboot with neither a Samantha or a
Miranda.
Wow. Of course,
Wow.
Miranda. She's a lawyer.
Yeah.
She's a lawyer named Miranda.
Are
Wow.
you not a Miranda?
Am I?
I just like, my mind was just blown where I was like, you can't remember the name of the one you are? You don't think you're Carrie, do you?
No. Well, no, I guess that's right. Honestly, I know this is hard to believe. I've never thought about it. I've never thought about it.
Wow.
And honestly, my mind is a little bit blown that you like that. Not just that you came to decide that I was a Miranda, but that like it was plain as day obvious to you. Like, I feel like in my mind, I think I would have thought like I had gone through many a Miranda phase, but that this is a looser. I'm a little bit freer than a Miranda in spirit, but maybe that's wrong.
I mean, you can talk me out of it. I just assumed like Miranda until proven Charlotte with you.
Oh man, yeah.
What
yeah.
will you do me a favor? Mm-hmm. Will you ask Ronan what you are and tell me what he says?
I'm gonna text him right now. I'll text him right now.
And listen, I agree. I don't think they should have a Sex and the City without Miranda either. I just think we don't need another one. We don't need another Sex and the City reboot. We're okay. I'm okay. You know, that's not one of the things that I miss right now.
He just wrote, absolutely Cynthia Nixon.
Not even Miranda, just Cynthia Nixon. He's like, you are Cynthia Nixon when she's in her trailer getting ready to shoot.